The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now, 865-243-TALK. That's 243-8255. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
This is the Patrick Riggins Show, waking you up from your Sunday afternoon slumber. That is what we do here. Wake you up and give you a reason to fight for this country. To get up and start making the changes in your life that will propel you forward to help make the changes in this country. To make it better, to make it more free. Helping to get out this clarion call to action is our Freedom Bugler, 100.3 WNOX. With our 100,000-watt signal, we are delivering our message far and wide. Spreading the news of the Patrick Riggins Show to 5 southeastern states and 2 time zones. Even with all that power, we cannot reach everyone who needs to hear our proclamations of freedom and liberty. Because of that, we normally broadcast this show live over the internet at WNOXFM.com. However, this week, I believe they're having some technical difficulties.
Now, you still get us online, you just can't watch us.
Oh, you can hear it, you just can't watch.
Yes.
Well, then you miss me. That's why people tune in.
Yeah, we're having problems with our webcam all day today, so
they tune in and see Patrick and Ted Nugent.
You can't see my prettiness today.
Exactly. I don't know why else you would tune in.
I don't either, really.
Well, maybe to see you. I guess that's what that would be.
Can you blame them? No.
No, I cannot.
Now, rightfully, no.
I would sit here and look at all 7 people tuning in. No. Oh, yeah. But, yeah, so if you're trying to tune in on WNOXFM.com and you're only hearing but not seeing us, that is why. But you still get all of the goodness of the radio show. And if you need that address again, it's WNOXFM.com, where you can hear, not see us. So I guess you can't see us lounging around in the opulence that is the studio here at WNOX.
No, I'm still wearing my house coat. Slippers.
That's a good thing. If it's radio, you could walk in here and just do this show naked today.
I have actually done radio gigs where the overnight DJ comes in just wearing bunny slippers and pajamas. Seriously, so.
I don't think they'll let me get away with that here.
I don't know. You look good in bunny slippers and pajamas.
Yeah, pajamas. Yeah. We
have a little flap in the back that undoes, so you get a little hatch in the back.
What we could do is I don't know what holiday you would do this on, but just do a special holiday show, and every collar you get, it'd be like strip collars. And every collar you get, you have to take off a piece of clothing.
Starting with my socks.
Yes. Station management may be calling me after that show. Mr. Riggins, we need to see you in the office.
Yeah.
It's like the principal. No, they come over the loudspeaker. Mr. Riggins, please come to the office.
Bring your clothes.
Bring your clothes. Yes, put your clothes on and come up to the office. Anyway, getting on with the show here, I want to thank everyone for tuning in again this week to the Patrick Riggins Show, the show that is fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. Real quickly, before we get to this first segment goes by pretty quick. Well, the whole show goes by pretty quick, but I'd like to address something that, and you're going to hear that today. You'll hear me sniffling today, and I'll just apologize for it right now. I'm trying not to sniffle on the mic. Exactly. But I'll do my best to not sniffle into the mic. But what I'd like to do, real quickly, is address some of this apathy I've been hearing from people I speak with during the week. If you're feeling this way, especially after the election, kind of a post-election blues, well, you need to snap out of it. Because we don't have time for pity parties here on this show. We need to start working towards the next congressional election, towards getting good people. And you know these people. One of your friends, your coworkers, you think they would make a good congressional representative. Heck, it might even be you. Get to work this week lining up their or your candidacy. If you do that, then the rest is easy. All we need to do then is band together and vote them in. The Tea Party in 2010 showed it can be done. The key is getting it done, deciding how you're going to contribute, and then doing it. You cannot sit around and say, boy, I hope this changes, or I can't believe that got passed. The reason nothing changes or bad laws get passed is because we allow them. That's really all there is to it. There's no big conspiracy, no overall agenda. We, as a people of this country, through our lack of pressure on Congress, allow these things to happen. So in reality, we only have no one to blame but ourselves. I know most people don't want to hear that. If we blame it on some unseen force, then we have a reason to not do the hard work necessary. Because no matter what happens, this unseen force will overrule our efforts. To me, this is a cop-out, an excuse for being lazy, for continuing to sit on the couch, living your life and not doing anything to help turn the country around. Every time I hear this type of excuse from people, either in person or on the radio, it immediately tells me this person is a complainer, someone who is going to do a lot of talking, but not try and solve the problem. These are people you should be avoiding because they will hamper your efforts and bring you down. They'll be the ones telling you how much time you are wasting, how nothing is ever going to change. The fallacy is that things do change. We didn't always have an overly intrusive government, at least not to the extent it is now. So things do change, even if not for the better. The reason they have changed for the worse is because too many people have sat back and watched the minority that votes and wins elections rewrite the laws. Minority being not ethnic group, but minority of liberal people. The answer is, of course, to start voting and winning elections. And the key to that is action, putting together the things that need to happen to bring about a win for a good candidate. If we do that, we can start making the progress and getting this country turned around. A word of warning, though, how important is it to you to be liked? This was the big question in Death of a Salesman for everyone who read that in English in high school. I want to warn you right now, liberty and freedom increasingly are not looked upon with acceptance in this country. And others, yes, even your friends and neighbors will try to socially ostracize you into complying with the current prevailing social conditions. It's going to take a lot of backbone and an unshakable belief in your principles to stand firm, but you can do it. And if you need some reassurance, just tune into this radio show each week and you'll be refreshed and reinvigorated by our message. So much so that the rest of your week will be a breeze. Well, we're up on the first break.
You can do it.
You can do it. And I only sniffled once during that whole segment, so yeah, I think I'm doing pretty good. This is the Patrick Riggins Show. We'll be back after these messages.
Fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now at 865-243-8255. That's 243-TALK. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
This is the Patrick Riggins Show. Running those songs a little long, giving me time to get back up into the chair. Yes. I'm staying hydrated. But the downside to that is you have to run down the hall during commercial breaks. But I made it back. That's the important thing.
We'll get you a pickle jar to put in here.
Yeah, and the webcam's not working, so no one knows. Well, I guess they do now.
Get you a bucket.
A bucket, yeah. All right. We're back with one of the quickest hours you'll ever experience, the Patrick Riggins Show, Sunday afternoons at 2 p.m. till 3 p.m. And this week I was bumming around the internet, as I do, and ran across a story about how New Jersey Governor Christie is now seeking almost $37 billion in federal aid for his state. More money than his entire state's budget. This from someone who is supposedly and reportedly, allegedly, and other lees, a Republican. It is interesting to see how hypocritical Governor Christie really is. If you didn't hear the show a few weeks ago when we did a version of the dating game with him and President Obama, you should really catch that. this week. You can go to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Patrick Riggins Show. And I believe it's a November 4th show. If you go to that address, though, you can, I think it's right there, President Obama and Governor Christie on the dating game. Again, that's youtube.com/Patrick Riggins Show. Now, during that show, I demonstrated, well, just what a bootlicker Governor Christie is and how he really isn't a Republican, but more like a Democrat in a Republican suit. Pretty much like all Republicans nowadays, save for a handful. But back to the story. Governor Christie has requested this federal aid, which, well, let's call it what it really is, the tax money of the citizens of the United States. Now, it's our money that the good governor wants for cleaning up his state. Now, as I pointed out when Sandy blew through that area a few weeks back, and it's hard for people to hear this, but I'm going to say it because that's what I do on this show. It is not our responsibility to clean up another state's disaster. No matter how bad it is, no matter how many people got killed, it isn't my fault. And if it isn't my fault, then why am I having to pay for it? Let his state pay for it. And if they can't afford it, then I'm sorry. I'm sure other states want things they can't afford. Should we have to provide it for them too? Well, of course not. That's just how it is. Now, private charities can go in there, and I'm all for that. Going in there, helping out, doing what they can to help the citizens, and you can give all kinds of money to the Red Cross and churches and all kinds of people that are up there, but it's not in our Constitution that allows that sort of thing. I have some clips I played from that last show from Governor Christie's Republican National Convention speech, and I'd like to run through a couple of them again, just real quick, to point out his sheer hypocrisy and all these politicians just like him. And what I want to show you is how a lot of these people talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. So here are two clips real quick from his speech.
Now, our founding fathers had the wisdom to know that social acceptance and popularity were fleeting, and that this country's principles needed to be rooted in strengths greater than the passions and the emotions of the times. But our leaders today have decided it's more important to be popular, to say and do what's easy, and say yes rather than to say no, when no is what is required. In recent years, we as a country have too often chosen the same path. It's been easy for our leaders to say, not us, not now, in taking on the really tough issues. And unfortunately, we've stood silently by and let them get away with it. But tonight, I say enough.
That's what I say, Governor Christie. Enough. We simply do not have the money to bail out your state. It's really that simple. We don't have the money, yet you ask for it. Demand it out of the federal government. Demand our money to fix your state. Like your state is so much more important than any other state in this union. We have to drop everything and send our hard-earned money to fix your state. Yeah, that sounds fair.
We believe in telling hardworking families the truth about our country's fiscal realities, telling them what they already know. The math of federal spending does not add up. With $5 trillion in debt added over the last 4 years, we have no other option but to make the hard choices, cut federal spending, and fundamentally reduce the size of this government.
Yep, cut federal spending until his state needs it. Then federal money needs to be spent to help him out, help out his re-election campaign, bring home that money, that pork, Governor Christie, pressure the Congress to give our money to you. I guess it's okay when you want the money. Then it's okay to spend our taxpayer dollars on your projects, things you want in your state.
They believe that the American people don't want to hear the truth about the extent of our fiscal difficulties. They believe the American people need to be coddled by big government.
The they he is referring to is the Democrats. They believe the American people don't want the truth. They believe the American people want to be coddled by the federal government. What do you call crawling to Washington, D.C. and begging for our money to be sent to your state, Governor Christie? I would say that is coddling.
I don't want my children and grandchildren to have to read the history book what it was like to live in an American century. I don't want their only inheritance to be an enormous government that has overtaxed, overspent, and overborrowed a great people into second-class citizenship. I want them to live in a second American century, where real American exceptionalism is not a political punchline, but is evident to everyone in the world just by watching the way our government conducts its business every day and the way Americans live their lives.
Right. Americans live their lives talking about how we need to reduce federal spending. That is, until they want the money. Then we have to open up the purse strings. I guess the world likes seeing how two-faced our politicians really are.
Where our military is strong, our values are sure, our work ethic is unmatched, and our Constitution remains a model for anyone in the world struggling for liberty.
Interesting how he mentions the Constitution. I would invite Governor Christie to point out in that great document where it states the federal government will spend money taxed from one state's citizens to fix up another. Is that in the Constitution there somewhere, Governor Christie? Can you not find it? It's because it's not in there. I know he doesn't listen to this radio show, but I hope one of his supporters sends him a link to us on YouTube so he can hear me call him a two-faced liar. A little sniveling bootlicker who holds two sets of principles, those that he talks about and those that he lives. I am not at all surprised you are a politician, Governor Christie, because what you preach is nowhere close to what you practice. I hope you lose your upcoming re-election, even to a Democrat, because then we know who we are dealing with. And I don't mind someone I know who speaks what they think, even if I don't agree with it. But I cannot stand a person who preaches to us what we need to be doing, how we should be acting, and then turns around and does exactly what he tells us we shouldn't be doing. If you're curious about the breakdown on this money, $580 million of this money he's requesting is for government response and repair. So your tax money is going to fund New Jersey's government. Isn't that great? Because I'm in New Jersey using their government services all the time. $703 million is going to individual assistance. I'm not sure what that means other than flat out giving our money away to someone else. It sure isn't for their housing because they allocated $5 billion for that. And businesses aren't getting that individual assistance because they are budgeted $8.3 billion of your dollars. Governor Christie is also wanting $95 million of our dollars for, quote, government operating revenue. In other words, they can't get taxes from their citizens, so now we have to pay them. The rest of us in this nation have to pay taxes to provide the New Jersey government with operating revenue. Now, how is that in any way fair to the rest of us? Well, the short answer is it's not. Anyway, we're up on the bottom of the hour break, rolling through the Patrick Riggins Show. I told you it would go by fast. But let's see. We'll have a couple of minutes here at the bottom of the hour, and then we'll be back with more. We'll talk about the government as a company when we come back. This is Patrick Riggins with the Patrick Riggins Show.
Fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now at 865-243-8255. That's 243-TALK. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
I'm looking forward to all of the Christmas party invitations we'll be getting now.
Yeah.
They'll say, I want Patrick and Tori.
Fan mail. I believe that's what they call it.
Yeah.
Fan mail.
Come in and make an appearance. What is that the golfers get? It's an appearance fee.
Appearance fee, yeah.
Just show up, and then they'll pay us to leave.
Just show up with the promise of a free keg. I don't.
Yeah. That's what we need to do. We need to show up, and then they'll pay us to leave.
Yeah.
That's how we'll make the money.
There you go.
That would be like a departure fee.
Departure fee. It's free to come, but departure fee is
please leave.
Yeah.
We'll pay you to go. Your jokes just aren't making it. They don't make it on the air. and they're not making it in person. Anyway, getting started here. All right. What I want to do is start out this segment of the show real quick. We're just going to do a little story here. Let's say you and I decide we want to start a company to make bicycles. We sit down and decide each of us is going to put in, well, let's say $1,000 to get started. We're also going to hire some people to run it and give them, the authority that they can write checks out of our account and make contracts with other companies for the parts that we need to build these bicycles, all that stuff. Now, these managers we hire will also have the authority to interview and hire people to build the bikes and salespeople to go out and sell them to the stores. So we have this nice company up and running now. We keep tabs on it a little bit and watch it grow. But then something interesting starts happening. The managers we hired start hiring all their friends and spending money on lavish office parties and trips to Florida to see the beach and trips to Colorado for skiing. Yay, they start taking out loans from banks to finance all of this. When we ask them the question, how can we afford all of this? They tell us, we aren't selling a lot of bicycles right now, but we are expecting to sell a ton in the next year or so, and the money will really start rolling in then. And in the meantime, they continue spending more of our money, taking out more loans in our name, loans we are responsible for repaying, and before you know it, the banks have decided, they're just not going to loan us any more money. And we aren't selling any bicycles because our salespeople have been out on trips and partying. Now, we're out of money. We are out of inventory. We have nothing. And our managers come to us and say, hey, we need more money. If we will only give them more money, they can get things turned around. So you and I get together and decide, okay, we'll give them a little more money, but we're going to fire these bad managers. So we fire them and hire replacement managers to run our bicycle company. The only problem is, when they get on the job, they look around and see how much more fun the previous managers had spending money, going on trips, and our new managers decide, hey, why should I try to turn this company around? That's too much work. And this company is headed down the tubes anyway. The owners aren't really paying attention to what is going on. Just look at what the previous employees were doing, what they got away with. Sure, they got fired, but the company's selling us all this stuff. They all hired the people the owners fired. So if we buy enough stuff from these same companies, they'll hire us too if we get fired. So let's spend all we can get away with until we get kicked out. The question is, would you tolerate this type of activity in a company you own? You do in this company called the United States government. You allow it to happen every day. And your representatives, your employees, they're laughing in your face, not even behind your back, laughing in your face and practically daring you to do something about it. They waste money. They trample your rights. They take money out of your paycheck before you even get it. All of this, and yet you sit out there watching whatever brain-draining show is on television and not doing a dang thing about it.
Finding Bigfoot.
Exactly. Tori's watching Finding Bigfoot. All of this because your employees in government know. They know you aren't going to muster enough people together to stop it, to vote these people out of office. And even if you do, they'll corrupt the new ones you send up there. Unless you are dang sure the new employees you send up there have the principles and the backbone to do the right thing in the face of all this pressure to join in on the party. So you sit out there and take all of this. Because as long as we're all getting screwed together, then it's okay, right? But the minute someone starts saying this is wrong or finding a way to work around the system, then they are the enemy. They are the ones doing something wrong, not the government. For a good example, look at people who find ways to get around having to pay so much income tax. The government has the population of this country convinced those people are the ones ripping us off. Those people are to blame for the government not having enough money. It isn't the fact the government is way overspending, that too many people in this country are on the government dole, getting so-called free money, getting the Obama bucks. That's why this argument is so effective for the government. Because by people finding ways around the tax code, finding loopholes, they are costing the government money, and thus also costing the people getting free money from the government. Therefore, now these tax loophole people are the enemy, not the overbloated, bureaucratic, and unconstitutional government. It goes back to my statement on a previous show. How much is it going to take before you sell out your principles? $300 a week? $500 a week? How much is it? Because the government will be glad to cut you a check each week for your trouble, for selling out your principles and your fellow citizens. Why is it, do you think, the government works so hard to divide us as a nation? To tell us that we aren't all American people, that we are a diverse mix of cultures with no real, quote, American culture, unquote, to be proud of. It is so much easier to convince you that another citizen, another class of people, another ethnic group, that's to blame for your troubles. And the government, the real problem, that's who we should really be blaming. For example from history, and I use this quite a bit, just look how effectively it worked for Hitler when he blamed Germany's troubles on the Jews. The propaganda of shearing off the Jewish population from the rest of Germany worked so well. German citizens sat back and watched knowingly, and some, let's be honest, approvingly, as boxcar after boxcar of their fellow German citizens were shipped off to concentration camps. Let's get back to when the Soviet Union was running strong. We celebrated people who fought back against that regime, who found ways around the government bureaucracy, who worked to defeat the overstepping and trampling on the Russian citizens' personal freedom and liberty. But when the same thing occurs in this country, at the very least, we call them tax cheats. At the very worst, the government designates them terrorists and either ends up killing them or imprisoning them without access to a lawyer or even being told their charges in a formal hearing, never given a chance to answer for their supposed crimes to try and prove their innocence. All right, we're up on the last break here. I hope I'm really getting this point home to everyone out there, what the real problem in this country is, and it's the government. I'm not saying we need to overthrow the government. I'm saying we need to work and turn it around. Anyway, this is Patrick Riggins with the Patrick Riggins Show. We'll be back after these messages with the last segment. Don't go away.
Fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now at 865-243-8255. That's 243-TALK. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
This is the Patrick Riggins Show. And I wouldn't say I'm a lonely boy. Sometimes it feels like it a little bit, trying to stand on libertarian principles. But I shall continue on. I know Tori's never lonely. He's got a ball and chain.
Ball and chain.
That's why, I should have mentioned that during the whole devil woman lead in that second segment.
Christie, Patrick's saying
That's Patrick. Hey, I was at your wedding, Chris, so don't. I'm just kidding. She'll come up here with a gun.
on the all in chain.
Yeah, she's one of them Seymour gals. She'll shoot you, won't you?
She's Holston. She's
Holston.
right around at Holston.
Oh, well, that's East Knoxville.
Yeah.
she might know where I live.
A little bit more dangerous than Seymour.
Yeah. I am familiar with that area. All right. Real quick, one thing I often get asked is, in this show, especially after this last election, is, what now? Why should I keep trying when it seems like all of the country wants a free ride, or at least half do? The problem with this, get my teeth working and tongue working.
Take two.
Exactly, take two. The problem with this thinking is that it's defeatist. It goes against the American spirit of never giving up the fight. Is our country worth fighting for or not? Or our principles worth defending or not? Are your children and grandchildren worth fighting for? All these things you need to keep in your mind when these thoughts start creeping up. Look, the liberals and so-called conservatives have had decades to screw things up. It isn't all going to be fixed with one election. Do you think if, let's go out on a limb and say Ron Paul had been elected, do you think all of a sudden everything would work out? Now, granted, he could correct things within the executive branch, but you can be sure Congress would be fighting him the whole way on everything else, along with lots of other groups who rely on the government for their money. It's going to take more than an election to set this country straight. It is going to take a groundswell movement, a grassroots education movement to start turning things around. You want the bad news? Things are not going to change anytime soon. Imagine if you lived during the Revolutionary War and died before we had won. What if you had died before it was even clear if our country would survive? You died without knowing how things turned out. You died in times of uncertainty. But would you have given up the fight? No. You would have cheered on those fighting and tried to help out any way you could. That is the same situation we're in now. Let's be realistic. We are probably not going to live to see this country get back to where it needs to be, unless you're really young. And even then is doubtful. The best we can do is to start working towards that end so that others can build on our accomplishments. They'll be that much further along. Our debt burden is going to bring down our dollar, and we'll be living through that chaos. But if we're still working to get us off a fiat currency, if we're working to get back our freedom and liberty, then generations after us will be grateful for the accomplishments we make now. That is why it is so important to stick to our principles even when others say we are foolish, that nothing will ever become of our work. Well, what if they are right? Would you have rather lived according to your principles and been a good role model for your children? Or would you have rather have swayed with the wind, going whichever way the country seems to be heading, thus teaching your children, by example, to do the same? Should we not stick to our principles because, no one's going to listen to us? We are just wasting our time. If we would just drop these principles, we would get along with everyone better. We could even take advantage of government handouts. Now, I don't like stealing, but everyone else is stealing, so I might as well go ahead and steal, right? Is that what you teach your kids? The sad fact is, a lot of parents do teach their kids that, whether intentionally or not. They might say not to steal, but turn around and accept stolen money from a fellow citizen in the form of a government check. For all the talk of the other two parties, both the Democrats and Republicans, about standing on principles, the Libertarians are the only ones really getting close to doing it. The only ones who stand on their principles, no matter what it might cost them. They don't sell out their votes. It may not be pulling much in elections, but they're living according to their firmly held beliefs. They aren't fake. They aren't going to tell you what you want to hear. They're simply telling you the truth and challenging you to accept it, just like this radio show. They want you to think about the truth and figure out for yourself how you want to live. Under freedom and liberty, or an increasingly tyrannical rule. If you want to know how I respond when people ask me what now, you just heard it. I've said this over and over again. Now's the time to do something. This is the week you stop watching life go by. Stop watching external events dictate your life. Not just politically, but throughout your entire life. Stop letting other people determine your direction. Stop letting other people determine your mood. Stop letting other people try and discourage your dreams. There's a saying which you may have heard. Those that discourage your dreams have likely abandoned theirs. These are people who don't want you achieving your goals because it points up their lack of effort in achieving theirs. And here on this radio show, we encourage you to meet all your goals. Get out there in life, and let's start getting this place turned around, getting this country turned around. Sure, the election might not have gone how you liked it, but don't let that stop you. Just let it reinvigorate you to working towards these upcoming congressional elections. All right, we're up on the end of the show. I'm sorry we had a couple of callers. I couldn't get to you because I was running my mouth and sniffling. But if you want more information about the show, you can go to Facebook.com/Patrick Riggins Show. Again, Facebook.com/Patrick Riggins Show. That's all together. Be sure and hit that like button. We're also on Twitter at @Patrick Riggins. You can also go to YouTube at youtube.com/again, Patrick Riggins Show, RIGGINS Show. You can also email us, PatrickRigginsShow@gmail.com, or you can drop us a card or letter to WNOX here at the station. Join me next Sunday afternoon when once again we'll talk about freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. This is Patrick Riggins, and we'll see you next Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Have a great week.
Join us again next week for a solid dose of truth on the Patrick Riggins Show. Every Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. Be there.